Have you ever noticed how sometimes the harder you want something, the more it slips through your fingers? Like, the more you care, the more awkward things get, and less likely you get the outcome you want. Take this for example. You're out on a date with someone you really like. You want it to go well, but then you start getting anxious. You overthink every word, and no longer acting itself. The flow itself, the vibes weird. And next thing you know, they never text you back. Or maybe it's a job interview. You spend weeks preparing for it. You put so much pressure on yourself to be perfect that your brain short circuits during the conversation. And instead of showing as a best self, you freeze and never get a call back. But here's the weird part. I've noticed complete opposite is also true. When I let go, the needing things happen a certain way. That's usually when things start falling into place. A while back, I was obsessing over my career. Every move I made felt high stakes. I kept comparing myself to others, wondering if I was doing enough, if I was falling behind. I overanalyzed every opportunities, every setbacks, and I was completely burned out. Eventually, I hit a point where I just said, you know what? I'm done chasing. I decided to focus on my work itself, not the titles, not the outcomes, just showing up, doing good work, and trusting the process. And slowly, things shifted. I started enjoying my work again. People reached out, new opportunities showed up, and all happened after I stopped forcing it. Same thing with a relationship. There's a time when I wanted connection so badly that I overthought everything I said. Tried too hard to be liked. It wasn't genuine, and people could feel that. But when I stopped trying to impress anyone, when I focused being honest and showing up as myself, the right people started to stick around. It was like a moment I stopped gripping so tightly, things floating naturally. That's when I came across something called Law of Detachment. And recently, I've been digging into it more, because detachment is kind of everything. It's also one of the hardest things to get right. But once you do, no joke, it feels like unlocking a whole new level of life. From your relationship to your career, and even how you see yourself. It took me a while to truly understand what detachment actually means, not just in theory, but in real life. There's so much confusion out there, a little bit conflicting advice. But once it clicked for me, I started seeing changes cross board. And in this video, I'll share what I've learned and how you can start using it too. Timestamps are below, by the way, because I respect your time. So what exactly is detachment? I used to think detachment meant not caring, like emotionally shutting down, going through life with this cold, indifferent attitude like, yeah, whatever happens, happens, I don't really care. Whether it was my relationship, my goals, or even my future, I thought detachment meant becoming numb. But I've since learned that's not what real detachment at all. True detachment is about letting go the need for a specific outcome. It's not about giving up or being lazy. It's more like you still care, you still show up, but you're not clinging how things have to unfold. It's the sweet spot where you invest enough to work hard, but not so attached that your self-worth depends on the result. Because when you care too much, you create this pressure cooker effect. You start overthinking, second-guessing yourself, and sometimes even self-sabotaging. You act out of fear instead of clarity, and ironically, that's where it ends up blocking the very thing you wanted. To be detached means accept what happens, good or bad, and trust you'll be okay either way. You're not crushed if things go your way, because deep down, you know your worth isn't tied to one moment. It might look like this. This relationship didn't last, and yeah, I'm disappointed, but I gave it what I could. Maybe it simply ran its course. And that's okay. Or, my video flopped this week. Ouch. But there's always next week. I'll try again. I'll be fine. Now, why does this actually matter? Because I generally believe detachment is one of the most powerful life skills you can develop. It's something I'm personally working on this year. Because I've noticed how much anxieties come from being overly attached to my ideas. The moment we need something to go a certain way, we lose our peace. We get caught up in controlling the uncontrollable. And that's what attachment really is. A hidden attempt to force control over things you can't fully manage. But control, it's an illusion. We can't control how other people act. We can't guarantee how our content performs. We can't make our progress perfectly linear. But once we stop trying to micromanage every outcome, when we release that grip, we create space. Space for more genuine love in our relationships. Space for more creativity in our work. Space for real growth in our personal goals. Because when we stop needing so badly, that's often when we start become naturally. So how do we actually detach? The idea about detachment can be applied to almost every area of life, from career to relationships to personal goals. And while there are a lot of theories out there, I can only speak honestly from my live-through. So the example I'll be sharing comes directly from my own experience. Example 1, relationship. This relationship I was in way in hindsight. I wasn't so much attached to the person themselves, but to the way I looked by being with them. Being with them made me feel validated, like I was successful, desirable, like I was having all together. It gave me this external sense of worth that I didn't realize I was depending on. I got caught up in the image. We look great on paper. We fit ideal couple mode that other people admired. And that illusion started cloud how I actually felt inside. Because the truth was, I felt anxious more often than not. I didn't feel emotionally seen or truly cared for. Something always felt off. But I ignored those feelings because I didn't want to lose what the relationship represented. I thought, if this ends, what does that say about me? But eventually I had to face it. My value isn't tied to who I seem with. I had to detach the ego boost from curating the image of success I felt this relationship gave me. And once I did, it became clear that this wasn't love, it was performance. I didn't need that to be held. Letting go gave me freedom to rebuild my self-worth inside out. Example 2, language learning speaking English. So for me, detachment really showed up in my experience learning English, especially around how I sounded when I spoke. If you ever studied foreign language, you probably experienced something similar. For the longest time, I was hyper-focused on how I sounded. I wanted to speak perfectly, no hesitation, no mistakes, no Japanese accent. And because I was so obsessive with sounding good, I avoided speaking altogether. I passed up chances to join conversations. I hold back in meetings. I avoid public speaking. Even if I had something valuable to say, because my mind, I wasn't ready yet. I kept thinking, if I don't sound fluent, people won't take me seriously. If I make a mistake, they'll think I'm not smart. So instead of practicing and getting better, I freeze, go silent, and feel even worse after that. And that fear of judgment, that attachment that how it came across, was the very thing that was holding me back from improving. Eventually, I reached a point where I asked myself, what if I stop caring so much about how I sound and focus on communicating instead? No more overanalyzing every sentence. No more re-recording voice 5 times. Just speak, learn, adjust, repeat. So in early 2020, I made a new rule for myself. Say yes to speaking opportunities. Even if I feel awkward, even if I mess up, I joined group calls, spoke up more, and casual conversation without prepping scraping my head. I stopped judging my voice. I stopped listening back to every recording. I stopped thinking, how do I look in English? And started asking, did I connect? Did they understand me? I focused on more expressing ideas, making eye contact, and enjoying moment. And then, slowly, things shifted. One day, someone messaged me after calls and said, "Hey, your English sounds really natural now." I was surprised. I didn't even notice a change because I haven't been obsessing over it. And what showed me even more, I ended up passing Aiken Grade 1. It's one of the highest English proficiency tests in Japan, kind of like JLPT N1 for Japanese learners. And to be honest, I still don't think test scores are everything. But what I can say for sure is, if I hadn't learned how to detach from how I sounded, I don't think I would have made it that far. That moment proved me, the more I let go of needing to be perfect, the more I gave myself space to grow. Example 3, YouTube. This exact shift happened again when I started YouTube. In the beginning, I had zero expectations. I told myself, if it takes me years to reach my first few subscribers, that's totally fine. I started purely as a passion project, something to give me a sense of meaning and purpose again. At the time, I was working in a field that didn't excite me. I was completely burned out. I disliked myself in the job, felt trapped, uninspired. Even the thing I used to really enjoy stopped bringing me joy. I was just going through emotions like a zombie. So I started making videos, not for success, not for recognition, but simply feel alive again. YouTube became a space where I could learn, create, and experiment, and felt incredible to experience the sensible progress again. Because I didn't pressure myself, I genuinely loved the process. I was happy making videos, playing with ideas, and being creator. Ironically, I think that's what made things grow quickly. I hit 1,000 views in a month, and then 10K just a couple months later. But once I crossed the milestone, something shifted. I started obsessing over numbers, video performance, view count, retention rate, which only added more pressure to perform. And sure enough, that's when things started to stall. My subscriber count plateaued, my view dropped, but worse than the numbers was how I felt. I wasn't proud of what I was making anymore. I didn't feel connected to the content. It started to feel like I was tuning on videos to keep up, not because I was believing them. That was a wake-up call. I had to ask myself, why am I even doing this? Because if I wasn't enjoying it, what was the point? So I made a decision. I stopped taking sponsorship. I gave myself permission to slow down, and I focused on healing my relationship with YouTube. Creating content I could feel proud of, content that genuinely brought me joy. And once again, as soon as I detached from the pressure was succeed. One of my videos randomly took off. It was such a clear reminder. My mindset was directly tied to the quality of what I was creating. That connection between detachment and creative flow became undeniable. And it's something I'm holding on to tightly as I move forward. Thank you for watching. And remember, sometimes the best way to move forward is to let go.